coming after Conradt, rolling to his left, wanting to set up, throwing down the field, end zone. Kramer's there, caught a touchdown! Conradt with the TD throw, and Conradt.
What up, Dad?
What happened?
What happened?
Yeah.
You were hurt in a football game.
What?
Yeah?
Yeah. Oh my God. What happened?
You were hurt in a football game.
What?
Down 31-0. Here comes the blitz. Quick throw, almost intercepted. It is!
Football, by its very nature, is a violent sport. People are running at each other at full speed and colliding, and the reason why we protect the head is for obvious reasons.
A concussion is a transient alteration in mental status. Notice I don't say that you have to lose consciousness. It is a transient alteration in mental status, your ability to think and your ability and your cognition, and that alteration is due to some biomechanical trauma.
What happens in the concussion is the brain gets thrown against one side of the inside of the skull or the other.
There is no such thing as a mild brain injury. The brain is a very, very delicate organ that you don't want to mess around with. And unfortunately, a lot of parents, sports announcers, coaches, athletes hear that term so often, oh, they just got their bell rung, that is one reason why concussions haven't been taken as serious as they are now.
Fourth down play, 4-11 for the Irish.
Hello, I'm Dr. Julie Gilchrist with the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, a federal agency charged with protecting the health and safety of people in the United States. A concussion is a brain injury caused by a blow or bump on the head or an unusually forceful head movement. Concussions occurring in high school sports are a serious, often overlooked public health issue, and they can happen in any high school sport. Many concussions, especially those that don't seem serious at the time, go undiagnosed and untreated. But any concussion can lead to serious long-term consequences.
Do you have any videos in the school district on the subject of head injuries and how a coach should look for symptoms of head injuries?
Not that I know of.
You don't recall ever seeing such a video, do you?
I don't believe so.
Okay. Do you have in your library or the school library any books on head injuries and what symptoms a coach should look for to identify one?
Not that I know of.
Have you read any magazine articles or other articles on head injuries and what coaches look for to determine whether a kid is in trouble with a head injury?
No.
During the Taft game or the Tillamook game, did you see anything in terms of a hit, tackle, impact to Max Conradt that you believe could have resulted in injury to him?
Not during those games.
It's difficult to assess a concussion as a coach because you're looking on the sidelines, and you're trying to watch all the plays of the game, and it is very difficult to see what is happening and to truly assess whether a concussion has occurred or not.
Most football coaches will have these headsets, and they're talking to guys that are way up at the top of the stands that can see the entire field. I've had a guy on the radio tell me a kid's walking strange or a kid's down, and then we'll be able to look at it. But from the sideline, I can only see whoever happens to be in front of us.
We utilize a SAC test that will bring them through 4 different areas of orientation to see kind of where they're at. That just goes through basic questions, basic memory recall, balance, coordination, things like that.
If we think that there's anything, I'll sit them down. That's why I'm glad I have a trainer. She's put guys back in that if I had, in the middle of the game, I just would have sat them down because I didn't have the time to evaluate them. If there was a question, just sit down, you're done.
We now have available to us some neuropsychology testing to test the athlete's cognitive abilities, and we can do this on a computer.
We would get a baseline test on these athletes, and should they suffer a concussion during the course of their high school career, we would be able to go back to their baseline, which was individualized to the player himself.
And we can actually measure the athlete's return to function more carefully. The old guidelines of sitting out 1 week or 2 weeks or a month in some cases when they'd had multiple grade 3 concussions were not based on necessarily on knowing what we were doing, but what we were doing is we were having them sit out for a period of time that we thought would at least make sure that they were recovered.
Once they had reached their baseline, then we found that it was safe to return the athlete to play.
Back at the 11-yard line, crosses at 20, 25, going to his left, turns it up, tripped up though. I think it's tripped up by Conradt, maybe. Yes, he was. Took it in the head too, as he got run over by Warren.
Boomer's first
Out to the 39.
Their own 39, 61 yards to go.
So the clock shows 54 seconds.
To try to break
Waldport, you gotta hold him. First and 10.
Final score at Newport.
39, yard line.
Tillamook 31.
Come on, you guys, get out there ready to play. What are they standing around for?
The second impact syndrome is the thing that we're trying to really educate coaches about. And this says that if you have had a concussion and it goes unrecognized and you return to play prior to becoming symptom-free for a period of time, you are at a high risk for a syndrome where suddenly lack of control of blood flow to the brain develops, the brain floods, the pressure becomes massive, and death or major morbidity occurs. You have 3 minutes when that second concussion occurs to make any intervention before the game is over.
Grade 2 concussion, or the symptoms last longer than 15 minutes. Now, they go back in a week after the last symptoms stop. So it's asymptomatic for a week. They get concussed, let's say at a game on Friday, they have headaches until the following Thursday. Well, then they don't go back in for a week from that Thursday. So it's not a week from the actual concussion, it's a week from their asymptomatic.
Concussion symptoms, as I'm learning more and more about this, and especially as I look back at my career of kids that have gotten dinged and things like that, they're hard to know, hard to recognize.
The trouble with the concussion is you can't see it. Kid sprains his ankle blows up, swells up the size of grapefruit. Obviously the kid's hurt, he can't walk on it. If you have a concussion, it's in your head.
This baseline thing that I was mentioning earlier really takes the guesswork out of it because it's standard. And the kid either can do it or he can't, or he's going to have some degree of difficulty doing it. And that sends out the red flags. Instead of sitting there trying to ask a person what they had for breakfast, or what time they got up in the morning, or what's your girlfriend's name, what's your home address, well, that might not have been a part of the brain that was affected.
Especially when you're waiting that asymptomatic week, the kid, for all intents and purposes, is thinking that he's A-OK. Now maybe you have him do some running, do some jogging, trying to raise up his blood pressure, and all of a sudden the headache comes back. So that obviously he's not okay. But as far as he's concerned, or anyone talking to him, life's good. And there's pressure. Why isn't he playing? Why isn't he playing? Get him in. So for a coaching standpoint, that's why the guideline's so fantastic, is we have something that we could rely on and say, hey, look, this is what it says. Medical professionals gotten together and let us know that he's waiting a week. He's asymptomatic before he goes in. And that's to keep him safe and protect us and protect the players.
In the athletic community and the medical community, there's obviously that clash of what a team needs versus what a kid needs versus what the doctor says, and that's been there for as long as there's been sports and doctors. That's always been there. And obviously, as a coach, you need to err on the side of obviously what's best for the kid and what the doctor has to say, because he's more educated in that than we are.
Tell me what you saw from your perspective in the Toledo games, in the Toledo game, in terms of tackling, a block, impact to Max Conradt.
Go ahead.
In the fourth quarter,
okay,
we had scored a tying touchdown. We kicked off. He was on the kickoff team. He was not the kicker, but one of the other people on the kickoff team. He ran down the field. The runner came towards Max. He kneed Max. Max attempted to make the tackle. He kneed Max in the head. For a period of 2 to 3 seconds, Max was laid out on the ground. Max got up, returned to play. It was I'm not going to comment any farther than that unless you ask questions.
Sure. Well, from your perspective, was that a very significant hit to Max Conradt?
Go ahead. In my experience, it was a very significant hit. Okay. Can pause it. This is Max right here. It's the second man in. We're kicking off to them. They're going to return the ball.
And Sullivan gets the kick. Nice one. Sends it deep. Ward gets it. Back to the 11-yard line. Crosses at 20.
Watch the runner right there. Let me rewind. That's Max.
Took it in the head, too. He got run over by Warren.
Okay. You've got to watch it a couple times before you can even see it.
What quarter is this, Coach?
This is at the end of the fourth quarter. Here's the running back. I'm going to pause it a little bit earlier. That's it right there. In fact, that's a perfect stop. I couldn't have stopped it like that again in years.
And what do you see?
Right here, he's getting kneed in the head with this. I can't tell if it's his right knee or his left knee. But he comes in to make the tackle, and the kid's running real hard, and his knee comes up and hits Max right in the head.
Well, let's
Do you want me to rewind?
let's see. Point to each of the two of them. Point to the runner and to Max.
This is the runner, the guy in the dark blue, and this is Max right here. And if you watch him, you can see it's Max because they stay on Max. That's it.
I think it's tripped up by Conradt, maybe. Yes, he was. Took it in the head, too. He got run over by Warren. Out to the 39.
You were asked in the May deposition about that particular hat and that particular tackle made by Max, and you said it was a typical open field tackle. Is that correct?
Yes.
There was nothing about the tackle that at the time that disturbed you. Nothing about the tackle that caused you to talk to him later about, is that correct?
I never noticed that tackle until months after the season ended.
Yeah, but if the kid had symptoms of a concussion, he should not have gone in, period.
Or I would have had him, brought him in to get seen. You would think. You would think that he would come in and get him seen.
You see,
The thing with second impact syndrome, the problem is that someone suffers a concussion, and then sometime before their symptoms clear, they suffer a second concussion, and it doesn't have to be a big one. It could be a small hit to the head. They don't know, and all of a sudden, boom, you get the swelling in the brain.
There's evidence to suggest that a player who has had a previous concussion has a 4 to 6 time increased chance of having a second concussion, as opposed to that same player in that same position who has never had a concussion before. And that seems to go up with each concussion, so that they become more susceptible to recurrent concussions, and it also seems to take them longer and longer to recover following each concussion, and each concussion seems to be a little more severe than the previous concussion.
When is the first time that you looked at this particular film to decide or try to ascertain whether Max had sustained some injury in that game?
I can't recall specific the first time. I've looked at the film many times. It was, I would say, January or February of 2002.
Okay, so after Max had his injury in October 19, did you go back and review some of the films then?
I watched the Toledo game after the Toledo game. I watch each game after each game.
Counting. Irish down by 11, need a good drive, but here it is 3rd and 1 at their own 36. Conradt under centers, slot left, give the ball off to who? Don't know.
Quarterback sneak. Looks like at least a 2-yard
Is Conradt
gain.
got it or not? There he is. I couldn't see him.
Nowadays, the procedure we work with, if the kid has a lingering headache and it lingers on into the first part of the week, he'll miss that week. He won't play in that week. And I had that happen last year in 2002. Probably 3 or 4 kids I had headaches after a game, lingered into Monday, Tuesday, where they still didn't clear, they didn't feel right, they were held out that week. They went and saw a team doctor, they dealt with the trainer, and then they were reevaluated the following Monday. If they were fine on the following Monday, they eased back into practice, maybe got into contact drills on Wednesday. If they felt fine then, they would play on that Friday.
When did he tell you he was having a headache prior to the Taft game?
That's the question.
Okay, help me out.
We have a coaches meeting every Sunday.
Okay.
On the Sunday following the Tillamook game, he came to the coaches meeting and mentioned that he had had a headache over the weekend. His mother found aspirin headache medicine by his phone. His mother insisted that he call a doctor.
Did he ever give you any sort of indication as to why he was suffering headaches?
No.
He told you, though, that he wasn't sleeping and that the headache lasted, what, the entire weekend? You tell me.
Overnight, basically. When I got done talking with Max, I told him, I said, I need to talk to Ingrid, or I need to talk to your mom. She called me first thing the next morning. Monday morning, it must have been maybe 7:30 or so.
And tell me everything you remember about that conversation with Max's mother.
I tried to restate what Max had told me. You know, did you call a doctor? Did he have a headache? And she confirmed that. I said, did you speak to the doctor? She said she had.
Blitz coming after Conradt, rolling to his left, wanting to set up, throwing down the field, end zone. Kramer's there, caught a touchdown! Kramer beats him to the corner. Conradt with the TD throw. Newport coaches complain about holding, no flag on the field.
Is the question, did I check on him?
Yeah.
Yes, I did.
Okay, how did you check on him?
How you feeling?
If I know, if all of a sudden a kid was complaining of a headache and came in to see the nurse. Well, then, and before he even goes out to practice, we're going to look at him and make sure there's nothing going on.
I would like to know, just more specifically, of any formal training you've had for coaching.
Are you having a pretty good day today, Max? Your head hurts a little, huh? Yeah, but you can't take that off.
I think it's very tragic that helmets are not tracked as well as used cars are. Used cars, of course, carry a VIN number, and you can readily go online and you can find out the entire history of that car from the time it was manufactured till it ended up in your hands or whatever information you wanted at it. And I think it's a shame that football helmets don't have that same thing, when both a used car and a football helmet have exactly, to me, the same potential for injury or death.
With our experience, I would say 95% of the people that we have talked to in the school districts and coaches know that we do not test every single helmet, that is not something that the reconditioners do.
What our software provides to the end user, okay, is ultimately he can look at the manufacturer, the model, the style of helmets that is used, more importantly, the year of manufacture when he enters the helmet. Once he applies our barcode label to it, it's an individual barcode label. No two barcode labels are alike, okay? So basically that helmet can be distinguished from any other helmet like it. So therefore he can track when it was worn, when it was reconditioned, if he wants any repairs that have been done to it. Basically he can track the helmet from cradle to grave.
Max, you've healed so beautifully.
It looks great.
It's good. It's great. Can I hold your hand here just for a bit more? Would you hold my hand?
When they check the helmet in, it tells them this helmet needs to be reconditioned. And we go by when we designed the program, we went by the manufacturer's recommendation. The manufacturer's recommendation is whether that helmet is worn for one day of practice or whether that helmet is worn for an entire season of games and practice, it needs to be reconditioned at least once a year.
Now, unfortunately, there are many school systems that don't change their helmets if they don't have an economic support for that. And many school systems might be working with helmets that are much, much older.
When you took over as coach, did you have any knowledge about the age of the helmets that were in the school inventory?
No.
When Max was hurt, did you have any information as to the age of the helmet he was wearing at that time?
No.
When did you first learn that that helmet may have been as old as 20 years?
I don't recall specifically.
Sir, you've sat through the depositions and heard about the mystery or the number in the helmet.
Yes.
Okay. Do you know what that number represents? And I will have you look at the number. There's been discussion whether it's 81 or 18 or...
Other side. Yeah. Yes.
Okay, do you know what that number represents?
No.
Okay. Did you have any way, on behalf of the high school football team there at Waldport, of keeping track of how old helmets were?
No.
The customer within the program can say, I want no helmets on my inventory older than 10 years. And in which case the helmet will be flagged and tells them that the helmet needs to be scrapped, needs to be destroyed. Do not send to a reconditioner. We don't differentiate between manufacturers of helmets and their specifications. I have to believe that what Rydell tells me about the plastic compounds, and I can't believe that Schutt helmets are any different, that they both need to be scrapped or their useful life is ended after 10 years.
And do you know whether Schutt designated a shelf life or length of life for a helmet?
Prior to the collapse?
Yeah.
No.
How long do they last?
Well, a Schutt helmet lasts
until the reconditioners throw it out after 25 or 30 years.
30 years.
Well, no, but they don't have a tenant out policy like Riddell.
They make that made out of special material or something?
No, all the shut helmets have always been. There's no life limit.
You said that somebody told you from, correct me if I'm wrong, from Shut, that their helmets did not have a shelf life. Is that right?
That's correct.
Do you have a Noxie drop test machine in your facility?
Yes.
That drops from, among other heights, a football helmet with a head form in it with accelerometers, and you can drop it from a height of 5 or other feet. Is that correct? Is that the protocol?
Yeah, approximately, yes.
Before you went to work for, or acquired an ownership interest, I should say, in ARS, did you have any experience in the design of athletic helmetry, whether for football or other athletic activities?
No.
Okay. How about the manufacture of athletic helmetry?
No.
Testing of athletic helmetry?
No.
Sales of athletic helmetry?
No.
Okay. Other than athletic helmets, before you became an owner of ARS, did you have any involvement in the design of any type of athletic equipment?
No.
Manufacture of any athletic equipment?
No.
Testing of any athletic equipment?
No.
Or sales of athletic equipment?
Cannot recall.
Okay. In your brochure, your flyer, you use the words, helmets are placed on this head form and drop from different heights and positions. All right. You do not test all helmets that are submitted for reconditioning, is that correct?
I cannot tell you if any certain helmet from that school district was actually dropped from our head testing machine.
Well, tell me what your understanding was of the recertification process prior to October 19, 2001, if any.
The helmets and shoulder pads were collected, they were reconditioned, and they were returned.
And do you know what was involved now, speaking specifically about the helmets, with the reconditioning process?
No.
Again, this is prior to October 19, 2001.
No, I knew nothing about it, actually.
I wanted to know more about fitting, and so we listened to a seminar put on by one of the manufacturers on what's going on. And I remember at that time to this day that rule of thumb is basically 10 years, and you better have your helmet taken care of 3 times in that time. So now we have a helmet reconditioner, and it's still in his hands. We pay them to take care of it, but they know that our helmets aren't going to be any longer than 10 years, and they need to be certified, and we have catalogs of information of what helmets are done, what's taken off, and so on. And I think that's important. I just think that for the safety of kids, you just need to make sure your equipment is good.
In one football equipment room I went into, I looked at a helmet there that had already been checked out to a kid for the season, okay? And inside was the reconditioners. It's a nice great big sticker. It's about at least 3 by 3 that was stuck on the inside of the helmet that said, this helmet is rejected, should not be worn for play by anybody.
Max Conradt didn't use this helmet the previous year, correct?
Who used it that year?
Yeah, this particular
I don't
helmet.
know.
Is there any way we could find out?
No. After we check out all the gear, we list the names, we write down what gear they got. And then at the end of the year, with all my practice records, I toss them. I don't keep that stuff. I don't know, and I don't have record of it.
Our equipment has changed dramatically over the years. Helmets have changed very, very much, but the helmet is only as good as it is fitted properly.
No matter what size the head shell is, the actual plastic shell that the helmet is constructed of, no matter what size that is, they put these plastic pads in the helmet to make sure that the helmet has a firm fit on a young man's head while he's playing.
Based on seniority on the team, those children get to pick their helmets first. They come in, they try the helmet on, they pick one that they like.
Letting kids pick their own equipment, the size of their equipment, for comfort is an absolutely horrible idea. All the manufacturers reps out there have tons of information available to any coach or any parent or anybody who has to size equipment to make sure that the equipment fits properly.
We check for fit by twisting the helmet side to side, up and down, to see if the skin wrinkles. And also we strap up the chin strap, make sure it fits.
Just to send somebody in there and come out with a helmet and go like that, that's no.
And you move it side to side to make sure that the skin is moving with the helmet.
Yes.
Okay. And when you move it forward or back and forth, up and down, what are you looking for there?
Same.
Okay, show me how you move it then.
Well, you go up and down, side to side.
Okay.
Push it back a little more.
What we want to do for initially from the kid is, how does it fit around the crown of your head? You can have a too tight a helmet, and that's just as bad as having a helmet that doesn't fit and it's too loose. So it has to fit. And so what we do is we put a helmet on, the kid goes, oh, it's too tight. Well, we want to know, is it too tight? Where? How? And so we'll grab them by the shoulder and we grab them by the shoulder and we say, how does it fit? And then we squeeze on the shoulder. Is it tight or is it snug? And we kind of give that feeling and we kind of do the relationship on the head. And they go, well, it's really tight. I mean, it's just pressing against my forehead. Okay, so then we resize it. And then we put something on, or we put a different sizer on, or whatever. And we go, how's that? Oh, that's better. Is it snug? Is it? And they go, well, and we want it to fit snug, but not squeeze. Put it on, okay? How does it, again, how does it fit? Then you do grab the face mask, okay? Well, I want to see what he says to me is what I hear is what I'm seeing. So when you grab a head, when you grab that face mask, it should take his head and do this with it, okay? It shouldn't do this. It shouldn't do that. You grab that face mask and it literally is snug around, it's gonna move the head, all right? Now, the fine tuning part is it too tight? You know, you can put it on too tight and it'll do that too, okay? So you have to do that, all right? Then from there, the fine tuning takes place. You put it on, okay, it's a little bit better. Then you start putting the sizers and you know, whatever, air.
In this day and age in football, the game is, the kids are getting stronger, they're getting bigger. Even though the equipment is better, the hits and the collisions are much more violent than they were back in the day.
And Conradt under center. Back to throw.
You really got to make sure that these quarterbacks who are standing upright, they get hit to the ground and they're getting slammed to the ground. Offensive lineman, you're hitting from 3 yards away. You have a defensive end taking a 15-yard run up on the backside of a quarterback. He's going to slam in the ground. He's going to get whipped down and the head's going to hit the ground. You got a much more chance of injury.
But I think that this is a issue that we are all very passionate about, and we have to educate the mothers. Because I think if we get to the mothers will get to the coaches.
One of my neighbors who lived behind me, a couple of years after we were in business, his son was playing junior high school football. And his son had caught a punt return, returned it back to the end zone for a touchdown, and then collapsed and fell on the ground and passed away right there. His dad was a registered nurse. He was actually on the field at the time when his son passed away on the field. Now, there was some conjecture and there were some innuendos about the helmet itself. As far as I know, the case was settled out of court, okay? I don't know all the particulars of it, but I know that it hurt me an awful lot knowing personally someone that, you know, died on a football field. Anybody who is injured or dies on a football field, I take it a little personally myself, because I believe that every parent that places their kid in athletics, okay, and I think every coach, athletic director, and anybody else associated with the program they have a reasonable expectation that their child is going to be provided with the best coaching that he can for safety purposes, that he's going to be provided with the right equipment, it's properly sized, it's properly maintained, and it's within the realm of something that, in a reasonable expectation, I would not expect any child to get hurt or any person to get hurt wearing this equipment.
That's the wide side. He's back to drop, looking that way, pressured, now throws it, has a man there, caught it, and trying to get in for the end zone. He does. For some reason, Conradt let him catch the ball. Conradt was right there, but it looked like Conradt was just kind of caught in his tracks and just didn't do anything about it.
And the most important aspect of this dissemination effort is to educate and bring a total different awareness to the coaching community.
Let's just start out. Did you, in your review, see any significant hits or tackles to Max Conradt?
No.
From the coaching community, it comes to the parents and the athletes, an awareness of how to play safe, play hard, and play again.
He'll be against Levi Brown. Irish got to give Conradt time. He's scrambling to his left, setting up, throwing to the back of the end zone. Got Timplin, touched the 2-point conversion to Timplin.
Irish tie the score, 24-24.
You have, like this summer, 3 kids die in, 2 months in New Jersey, playing with massive head injuries. You wonder, how did those things happen? And why isn't anybody starting to regulate this business? I mean, I have an idea why they don't regulate this business. It's a multi-billion-dollar industry. And at the high school level, that's where the farm system is, right? And they're not paying for anything in the farm system. And if all of a sudden the word got out, this is very dangerous. If I knew what I knew today, do you think I'd let Max play football?
Number 1! No Irish, no Irish. Get in here.
Do you know where Max is today?
Yes.
Where?
Bakersfield, California.
Okay. Have you had any contact with him in Bakersfield, California?
No.
The fact is that even though the lawsuits were settled years ago, in the interim, not one person from the school district has ever made any attempt to reach out to Max.
And is he attending some sort of treatment, physical therapy program?
I do not know.
Okay.
Yeah, there you go. Oh, I'm sorry. Good job.
All right.
After years of rehab, Max lives in an adult foster care home for brain-injured adults. He still dreams of playing college baseball and one day being a sports writer.
Oh, I'm sorry, Joy.
In 2009, upon the recommendation of his therapists, my wife and I drafted a letter on Max's behalf to Coach Kordosky requesting a meeting. The thinking was that Max might get some sort of closure, which would help him better come to terms with his injury so he could get on with his new life, coping with brain injury. The letter was ignored, so I took Max to visit his old coach at his new job as superintendent of schools in Oak Ridge, Oregon.
Donald Kordosky? How you doing? Good. Good. I have been struggling with weight.
Yeah?
Yeah. Can we talk?
I can't do it right now. I've got to get in here. I have class starting in a few minutes. Are you going to stay the day, or are you just passing through?
Passing through, I think.
Okay.
Well, I could stay if you
I
want
have
meet.
to work.
Well, can we meet after school?
After school, I have a meeting at 4. I'm booked solid, Max.
After Superintendent Kordosky refused to speak with Max, my wife and I decided to pay him a visit. It was a Friday night, so we knew exactly where to find him.
You know what, guys? I appreciate your time, but I really don't have anything to say to you.
Since settling the lawsuit, Athletic Repair Service is no longer in business, though its owner, Jason Evenhus, landed quite nicely on his feet as a sales executive with Rydell Equipment. It's worth noting just how many helmets Evenhus's company failed during its many years in business.
Have you ever had a football helmet fail NOxI testing that had been submitted to your facility for recertification?
Not to my knowledge, no.
Even who certified Max's helmet as game ready. Yet, when it was tested by an independent lab, it failed virtually all of the standards of the year in which Max wore it. For years, we worked to bring the dangers of this largely unregulated sport and its risk for catastrophic injury to the attention of parents and the public. In 2009, with help from the Brain Injury Association of Oregon, Max's Law, Oregon Senate Bill 348, was passed. It requires all coaches to be certified in concussion identification and management. At the time, it was only the second such law in the United States. We hope not too many more kids are brain injured or killed before the federal government implements a similar law.
Come on.
Just talk to a representative about that.
Here we are. Okay, so everybody hit the camera and